Lie number 3, Christians aren't persecuted, especially in this country, anymore. Now, there's an important point here. Persecution can be defined as a program or campaign to exterminate, drive away, or subjugate people based on their race, ethnicity, social or racial or religious group. So Christians have faced persecution from the very beginning until now, with no break in between, but we're meant to believe that things are different now. And they aren't here either. There are 2 types of Christian persecutions happening in the world today. One is the less effective type, and the other one is so effective it's scary. The less effective is the direct, violent, old school, blood and martyrs type of persecution. We don't hear about it on the news very often, but it does happen. You know, the persecution happening overseas. There are many examples of this I could cite, but I want to point to just one example because it's very instructive from several months ago. Maybe you heard about this. A group of Christians in Egypt were in buses headed to a monastery in the desert. And Islamist militants boarded the buses with guns, but they didn't just shoot indiscriminately. No, instead they pulled each person out of the bus and they interrogated them. The Christian pilgrims were asked first if they are Christian, and then whether or not they would abandon Christ and convert to Islam. When each person refused to renounce their faith, they were shot in the head or the throat. All of the victims, even the children, died heroically this way as martyrs. Now, it's worth pausing here for a moment to imagine ourselves facing this, because there are 2 questions here. Remember, there are 2 questions we have, and I think that's so important. 2 questions. The first question is, are you Christian? And you could probably escape death here. All you have to say is no. It's just one word, just one syllable. One syllable, no. It will save your life. That's all it will take. No. Consider the courage required to kneel there on the ground with a gun to your neck and speak the simple truth. Yes. Second question, will you renounce Christianity and convert to Islam? Now, perhaps you didn't even know there would be a second question. You thought they'd kill you with the first. But now you have a second chance to get home to your family. Another chance to avoid a violent death out here in the desert in the middle of nowhere, where the vultures will pick you clean after you die. Consider the courage required to reject this final temptation and speak those words that you know will be the last you ever speak on earth. No. Gunshot. Darkness. How many of us have faith like this? These Christians were willing to give up everything for Christ. How many of us are seriously willing to give up anything? I mean anything for Christ. Most so-called believers in this country will lash out angrily if you so much as suggest that they should be more discriminating in the shows they watch, or the music they listen to, or the clothes they wear. The idea that we should make sacrifices in our entertainment choices or our fashion choices, that's downright offensive to us. If you say to a Christian, hey, maybe you shouldn't watch that Disney movie, they say, that's too, now, hey, whoa, don't take Disney from me. And yet we think we possess the conviction and the faith to give up our very lives? Laughable. Face it, most of us would grovel and weep at the feet of our Muslim captors. And we would recite whatever Quranic prayer they demand of us. And we would do it without even considering any other option. I mean, most of us would do that if they put a gun to our TV, let alone our heads. Am I being too hard on us? Our brothers and sisters in the Middle East put us to shame, and we should be ashamed. We are nothing compared to them. We are unworthy to wipe the dust from their sandals. We play pretend Christianity in this culture. They show us the real thing. Just think of what these people were doing in the first place when they were killed. They were traveling into the desert on a pilgrimage to go pray at a monastery. Despite the enormous risks that such a journey entails. And what about us? Many Christians can't be bothered to get up and drive 12 minutes to church on a Sunday. And our churches aren't in the desert. There aren't Islamic militants patrolling the area waiting to put a gun in our heads and make slaves of our children. That's not going to happen. You're fine. You might just run into a little bit of traffic, but probably not even that, because no one goes anywhere on Sundays. They're all home watching TV. So what's our excuse? What's our excuse? Why isn't this church, why isn't every space full? Why isn't it standing room only? Well, we don't want to get up. It's a hassle. It's boring. The air conditioner doesn't work very well. We might get a little sweaty. We had an argument at church the other day with someone. It's awkward to go see them. We don't like the sermons. The pastor was rude to us once. Why should we go? We don't want to. Our tummies hurt. Wah. Now, sure, we come up with our theological excuses for not going to church, not changing our lifestyles, not really doing anything at all. We found a verse or two that justifies our laziness. Or even better, we came up with a verse that we've decided should be in there if we're really supposed to do this. And because this verse we invented in our heads isn't in there, then that means we're fine. I love that, especially when it comes to abortion, by the way. People say, now, if we weren't supposed to kill our kids, the Bible would specifically say, don't kill people. Well, it does. Okay, but it would specifically say, don't kill children. Well, it says that too. It would specifically say, don't kill children in the womb through something called abortion. It would say abortion. Okay. Keep telling yourself that. Tell God that when you get there. See how convinced he is. You know, our brothers and sisters in the East, they know nothing of these excuses. They can't conceive of why we'd even want to find them. They look at us and they say, you can be as Christian as you want, and nobody will hurt you. Nobody will kill you. Why wouldn't you proclaim Christ from the rooftops? Why? What's stopping you? Well, because we might lose Facebook friends. Someone might accuse us of being weird. Someone might send a frowny face emoji to us. I can't handle that kind of rejection. But you know, the main thing is if we start being really Christian, then we might feel guilty about all the gossiping we do at work and all the porn we watch on our computers when our wives and children are sleeping, and the fact that we drink too much, spend too much money on frivolous, stupid things, that we make no sacrifices at all, ever. That's what's stopping us. We have it too easy. We're fat and lazy and soft and selfish. What's stopping us is that nothing is stopping us. This is our persecution, you see. The second type, it's self-inflicted. The program that our culture carries out and that we cooperate with, the program they carry out to exterminate and subjugate Christianity, has been far more effective for us than it's been overseas. But it involves more of the carrot than the stick. We're lulled to sleep. We're tempted with all the pleasures and luxuries known to man. Nobody comes to us and says, if you go to church, I'll kill you. Instead, they say, sure, you can go, or you can watch football. The enemies of the faith in this country have figured out the secret. The secret that the persecutors overseas are too stupid to realize. Don't put a gun to their heads and tell them to stop being Christian. Instead, just give them something else to do. Don't appeal to their fear, Because if you do that, you might accidentally awaken their courage. And then your plan is really in trouble. Because if your persecution produces a bunch of passionate, courageous Christians, well, then you better go and kill every last one of them. You better find every single one and kill them. Because if you leave even one of those kinds of Christians alive, if you let even one slip through the cracks, you're doomed. A Christian like that is the most powerful person on earth. A Christian like that who values his faith over his life, who's willing to sacrifice anything, who's empowered by the grace of God. History has shown that that kind of Christian can overturn empires, can reshape the very universe. He is worth more than every bored, lackadaisical, half-hearted Christian in this country combined. So if you're a persecutor, don't do that. The other option, put down the gun, turn on the TV for them. Don't appeal to their fear, appeal to their lust, their sensuality, their laziness, their gluttony. And then watch them drop like flies.